All the single ladies, all the single ladies, all the single ladies, put your hands up. Ever since I was 21, I wanted to start my family. I remember going to work happy hour, and my boss asked me for my 5-year plan. I said, I want to find my husband, get married, and have 2 kids by 30. But here I am at 34, still super single. I froze my eggs at 30, so I guess that's one thing that changed. Finding a partner later in life is not a failure. It could be a strategic advantage, especially in today's economy. Hello, this is Yujin. I'm a management consultant based in Boston. In this video, I'll break down 3 things. First, 2 different marriage models. Then, 3 different scenarios on how the ROI of the relationship changes depending on the age of marriage. And last but not least, a practical framework if you're over 30. By the end of this video, you'll walk away with less anxiety and more intention. So let's dive into the first point. So there are 2 distinct marriage models that we're seeing today. The Cornerstone and the Capstone. The Cornerstone model says, marry young. Then together, you grow your assets, your career, and identity. This worked when stable jobs came earlier and living costs were lower. The Capstone model says, build yourself first. Work on your education, career, your financials, and then marriage becomes a capstone to celebrate a crowning achievement. What I've started to notice was that a lot of my friends in medicine, law, tech, finance, and consulting, they just don't have time to settle in their 20s. Let's say after 4 years of undergrad, you go prepare for your LSAT, law school, try some internships as a paralegal, and then go into law school. That means you're already 25, 26. And your early years working in big law can be brutal in terms of hours. Cornerstone and Capstone, neither approach is superior. Like any strategic decisions, they have different benefits. For Cornerstone, the key highlights are you get to grow together as you're more malleable in your 20s. Once you move in together, you're sharing that cost. For Capstone, the key highlights are you have more time to focus on your earning potential or career. So the takeaway here is that same values, but just different sequencing in terms of what you are solving for and optimizing in your life. Now let's zoom out and see how this applies in the whole world. Let me walk you through the key 4 patterns I noticed in this map. The most obvious one is the more developed the country, the later the marriage. The wealthiest and most developed countries almost universally follows the Capstone marriage pattern. Average first marriage is between 30 and 40. On the other hand, developing countries show Cornerstone patterns with ages 19 to 25. This isn't just a theory, it's a clear global pattern regardless of cultural nuance. The second insight is that education level predicts marriage timing with remarkable accuracy. When countries cross the threshold of 40% of women completing higher education, marriage age dramatically shifts upward. This education, then marriage sequence forms the backbone of Capstone approach. And this third insight actually stood out to me because East Asian countries demonstrate hyper-accelerated change. 저는 한국 사람입니다. And South Korea shows one of the fastest transition from Cornerstone to Capstone marriage in history. Within about 10 years, the average woman's age at first marriage jumped from 24 to nearly 32. Another interesting insight is that gender equality narrows the marriage age gap. The marriage age gap between men and women directly correlates with gender equity. In countries with higher equality, such as Sweden and Canada, couples marry only 1 to 2 years apart. In countries with fewer opportunities for women, this gap was actually stretched to 7 to 8 years. This is a global pattern, which goes to show that what we're seeing in the US isn't just a Western trend. If you spend any time in social media lately, you may have noticed the growing tension between genders. And I saw this specifically pronounced in Korea when Apple released its phone commercial. In the Korean version, they removed this hand gesture to avoid cultural controversy. And this gesture, or emoji that you might use innocently, actually is used in Korea by some groups to mock men. What I've observed in both Korea and America, which appears like a gender conflict, could often be a timing mismatch. When expectations follow the old timelines, but economic stability takes a decade longer, friction is going to happen. Women feel like we have a timeline to start a family while building careers, and men feel inadequate if they can't provide earlier. which goes back to our second point on the agenda, the return analysis. So while I was working, I started to wonder if I could model the ROI of marriage timing. For my job as a management consultant, I analyze return on investments for companies. So what happens if we apply this lens in a relationship? So let's use some assumptions to map out 3 different scenarios. A marriage ROI model based on the age you get married. So here are 5 key assets in a relationship portfolio: career capital, financial foundation, personal development, relationship skills, and partnership quality. Career capital is your professional skills, your network, and your potential. Just like any blue chip stocks, these compound over time and provide long-term returns. Financial foundations is your savings, investments, housing security. This is your safety net during life's ups and downs. Personal development. This is about how well you know yourself and emotional maturity. Relationship skills. This is your ability to communicate and resolve conflicts. While these tools develop through experience, sometimes they could get rigid over time. Partnership quality. This is about aligned values, compatibility, and shared goals. Now, these 5 different assets will grow at a different rate depending on the age you meet and form your partnership. So let's discuss 3 different timing scenarios. The first is the campus connection portfolio. You probably met your partner as a high school sweetheart, college, on campus, and started building together early in your adulthood. Then the digital match portfolio. You connected through apps or shared activities and hobbies early in your career. Now the final wave is professional network portfolio. This is when you meet through industry connections or through a friend after significant personal accomplishment. The campus connection portfolio starts with a greater emphasis on partnership quality, but less established on the career capital and financial foundation. So this portfolio begins with strong relationship connection but fewer independent resources. The digital match portfolio shows a significant shift toward career capital and financial foundation, with moderate personal development. This is a balanced approach which reflects established independence before partnership. Then, the professional network portfolio maximizes career capital and financial foundation while maintaining strong personal development. This portfolio brings substantial individual resources to the relationship, but requires more intentional work on partnership integration. Our fun assumption is on how fast each of these balls will grow. So for each of these 3 scenarios, I mapped out the compound annual growth rates. Let's not forget, in any investment, we need a discount rate. In this scenario, we're going to use 3 different divorce rates. And by the way, this is from a survey that is publicly available online. Now, let's project these investments to age 55. So Campus Connection has some modest but balanced growth across all categories. It reaches around total about 420 balls. However, because of the 36% divorce rate, we're going to discount it and reducing the expected return to 268 balls. Now the digital match achieves a stronger career and financial outcome, reaching 483 balls. But we got to discount it with the divorce rate of 15%, which gives us a risk-adjusted return of 411 balls. Now finally, the professional network with the late marriage option, it reaches the highest pre-adjustment total of 510 units. But if we adjust that with the divorce rate of 19%, then we end up with 413 balls. So the strategic insight is pretty clear. Late marriage for working professionals can deliver pretty good return by age 55. And let's break down why that would be the case. First, career capital can compound the highest in your 30s and 40s. By delaying marriage until 35 plus, you experience a full decade of uninterrupted 10% annual growth. Second, your financial foundation built before marriage creates more security. Third is the higher emotional intelligence and clear self-knowledge. Scientific research shows that the frontal lobe and our brains mature until a certain age, and it's quite different for women and men. And I recognize that in my own journey at 34, I'm in the last category of the professional network pathway. Not by choice. I go on dates, but I just haven't found someone yet. Rather than feeling sad and sitting in my room afraid that I'm going to die alone, I decided to focus that energy on the different aspects of the portfolio that I can control. So how do you translate this ROI insight into your life so that it's more actionable? Here's a little framework that I made, L.I.F.E, and they stand for different things. If you're in your 30s plus or just want to be more strategic, I hope this framework helps you. L is for the way you look at me. Nope, it's actually L is for livelihood. It's about your career, your financials. And let's be real, I need to be self-sufficient. There's a real possibility that I will be single for a very long time, so I need to support myself. First, grow skills that are actually transferable. Second, reserve at least one night during the week, a Wednesday or a Tuesday, to go on a date. Make it a social night, not just working. Third, build financial security. I like to automate my finances, so there's less things for me to think about. I have a separate video on how I automate my finances so that I have more time to do something fun, make space for friends, and also hopefully more dates. I is for intimacy approach. It's about how you date. First is define one non-negotiable. Maybe you want to date someone from a similar cultural background. Second is show up with enthusiasm. I never want to be jaded in the dating experience and want to enjoy every step of the way. Third, get to know someone as a friend first. This is one of the reasons why I started deleting dating apps, because I started to see whoever's in front of me for a coffee date as a potential husband. F is for fertility and fitness. Take care of your health. If you want a family, start to look into science-backed objective data on your reproductive health. Really build healthy habits that will support both your career and your fertility. I stopped drinking when I turned 31, 32, so it's been about 3 years of staying dry. As an option, consider the emotional impact of different choices, such as adoption. E is for expectations. It's about your mindset and how you think about this. Recognize that the goal isn't to just get married, just get snatched and find a partner. It's about solving for quality over quantity. So the partnership quality matters much more than timing, which you can't really control. And create your own definition of success. For example, I will make sure that I have at least 2 interesting conversations with strangers every week. And really release this arbitrary timeline that we somehow impose on ourselves. Like I mentioned in the beginning, my 2 kids by 30, I don't know where that came from. This is not a race. While I'm still single at 34, developing this framework has helped me approach dating with better clarity, less anxiety, and more intention. Just like many of you, I am still figuring it out. And hopefully, maybe in 2 to 3 years, I will look at this video and tell myself, Yijun, it's gonna be okay. You're probably here because you're looking for love. And it's human to want partnership. The real path forward isn't to get rid of that desire, but to place that desire in the context of the bigger picture and the life that you want to build for yourself. Late marriage isn't a consolation prize or a failure of timing. It's a different sequencing of the choices that we made that could lead to better partnerships and greater life satisfaction. If you're in your 30s and found your love, we'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. And if you're still looking, let me know what resonated the most with you. Thank you for watching, and remember to come back to my next video topic on...
Let's go! It's time to be the GOAT. It's time to enter God mode, man, let's get it going. I wanna be the greatest, energy is overflowing. I know I'm stoking the fire, my desire's taking